All right, hey guys, Devin Hazen, the Director of Sales with the Mountain Life team here in North Georgia. I'm here with Doug, Noah, Jeff. You guys say hello?
Hello.
Hello.
It is that time of the month again. We are here to talk about what's happening in the market, how it's affecting you as a client, a buyer, a seller, an investor, and we've got three great agents here to do it. So, guys, let's just start out. It's we're reviewing January numbers, right? Because we're in February, we don't have February numbers yet. We're reviewing January. What's your first thought when we're opening up the reports, looking at the stats, understanding what happened in January?
Noah brought up a good point in our meeting, our team meeting, that the numbers are going to be slightly skewed because everything terminates at the end of December. So coming into January, we have if somebody hasn't renewed, then numbers are going to be a little off.
So what do you mean they terminated at the end of December?
Not terminated, expired is the word I was looking for.
Okay, so they just didn't put it back on the
Right,
market.
it just didn't come back on.
Understood.
Correct.
So how would that skew the numbers?
Well, if you came into the end of December and you had, let's just make round numbers, you had 100 homes and all of those expired, and then coming into January, if maybe 15 of them didn't renew, then obviously those numbers are still off. It's not that those houses are necessarily not going to go back on the market.
Sure.
It's that they didn't yet.
Gotcha. So that might be affecting the days on
Days on
market,
market,
average sell price, okay, all that kind of
Months of
stuff.
supply, yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. With an expired listing, you mentioned that there's still an opportunity. They still might come back on the market. What kind of state of mind, just for buyers out there thinking, and even sellers potentially, do you think those expireds are in? I mean, they wanted to sell their home, right?
Right.
So what's stopping them from going back on the market today?
Well, I think a lot of them are pretty dejected once you put all the effort into it, and it's very emotional to make the decision to finally sell. Or for most people, it's very emotional to make the decision to finally sell.
Sure.
And you go through all the nuance of doing it, and like it could be 180, 200 days or whatever it is when they expire, and they're like, man, I finally made a decision to sell, and then I couldn't, and it's just a roller coaster of emotion. It's really draining.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of them are still willing, but they're kind of off put by the process and the fact that they didn't sell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some may be thinking seasonality too. That it's,
Absolutely.
it's gray outside, it's gloomy outside. Nobody's going to want to buy my house right now,
Right.
which is not right. This is one of the best times to sell a house,
Yeah.
especially land, because you can see all of it.
Everything.
Leaves are down, you can see how it lays, all of those things.
Yeah, sometimes you find a view that you didn't know was there.
Right. Or
Yeah.
you see how actually close the neighbors are or
Right.
not.
Yeah, see the topography of the land. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just driving here this morning and I was thinking to myself, oh, there's color coming back to the mountains. All the red buds are starting to happen on the trees, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I've been sneezing.
Yeah, pollen is high right now. I saw that yesterday.
Just in time for a hard freeze in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
just kill
exactly.
everything, So.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that, the expireds kind of piece of it. So what we're hearing is, and what we're saying is that inventory might be down a little bit, or is it up? What's happening?
It's up. So we've talked about this before, but what's funny is we see, like we mentioned before, we'll see the days on market drop because a lot of expireds left and they took their high days on market with them.
Right.
But we're seeing inventory continue to go up. For example, in Fannin, it's up 21% over what it was this time last year. And then you also see the prices continuing to rise, which is kind of an anomaly because you would think if inventory's rising, competition's rising, and people are going to have to start lowering, but we're continuing to see growth in both, which is pretty strange.
That's a great point that you just brought up, right? Supply and demand. It's that simple, normally.
Right.
It's not that simple today, yet what most people don't understand is when we talk about months of inventory, even where we sit, whereas, we're 3 months higher than we were a year and a half ago.
Right.
Yeah. We're still technically in a seller market in most counties, correct?
Correct.
I mean, so it's still technically historically low inventory.
Yeah.
So maybe that could also be a reason that the prices still continue to go up, is that inventory still
Inventory's still low.
Right.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what else along that line? I mean, we're seeing numbers come out from last year. We know how last year ended with sales down but volume up. Are we seeing that same trend this year? What are the big talking points this year? What do you think, Jeff?
The interest rate still continues to be one of the things folks are talking about. Waiting for that perfect interest rate. They hear the news, CNBC's,
What is the perfect interest rate?
the one that you can get right now.
Good answer. Good answer. Yeah, I don't want to cut you off or anything, but yeah, that perfect interest rate conversation. I mean, we should be having that with our clients. At what percent are you a buyer? Because ultimately, can they get the percentage today if they wanted to? Probably,
Sure.
maybe. Yeah, it depends.
You can buy it now.
As I said, you could buy it down. There are lots of options to get to that point.
Yeah, and the thing is we're stuck in this box thinking. I know there's some loan programs out there that some people are like taboo around. Yet, you could use those to your advantage.
Right.
If you're not planning on being in a home for 30 years, don't stick with just a 30-year mortgage as an option. Talk to your lender professionals, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Understand the best idea for you. Sorry, let's go back to our conversation. So you were saying interest rates. What else?
The inventory as well. I have a lot of folks looking for a specific house, and the inventory is just not there. We're still struggling with that.
But inventory's gone up.
Some of it has, yeah.
Like we said, we're still in a seller's market.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And something I've noticed with the inventory going up, especially because when you look at Fannon's at 6.3 month supply, Union's 4.1, and Towns is 3.9. So Fannin is almost double the others, but
And that's interesting because Fannon's double, if not bigger, than those two counties.
yeah,
So that's a lot of homes on the market.
yeah. And I think a lot of the reasoning for that is because even though there's a lot more inventory, the prices are significantly higher. So you're looking at an average sale price in Fannin of $782, average sale price in Union of $531, an average sale price in Towns of $538. So you're looking at $230,000 or whatever it would be,
Yeah.
$250,000 more, just because you moved over a county line.
Yeah.
And so even though there's more inventory, it's much higher price, so you can't get the bang for the buck. So people are just they're starting to realize, why don't I go to Blairsville? Why don't I go to Towns, to Union?
Well, that's a great point. That was my next question. I said, well,
Yeah.
are we seeing that happen? For you guys who are actively working in the market, are buyers talking about that?
Yeah.
Because I remember a couple of years ago, it was Blue Ridge only.
Right.
I've got to be in Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
And it's because they did a great job marketing Blue Ridge, right?
Yeah.
Yet now we've got, they've always been here, but we've got Blairsville, we've got Young Harris, we've got Hiawassee, we've got Lake Towns. I mean, LJ, just the outskirts even,
Right.
Morganton and Mineral Bluff, these great opportunities that people just don't know because it's not marketed to them.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot more of that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see, at least personally, a bit of a resurgence to Gilmer, to LJ. A lot of people have always been interested in it, and then we had that huge surge of Blue Ridge or bust for people.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing more people kind of say, well, I want to look down a little further south towards Atlanta and be an LJ.
Right.
So,
Well, I think we could say the same thing about the counties. You've got Gilmer in here, LJ area. What was the average sale price in LJ? I'm pretty sure it's going to be less than Fannin County. Almost certain.
It's pretty close to
it's going to
Union.
be the very last
Yeah, I
one.
thought it's upper fives.
Gilmer County average sales price $461.
461.
Yeah. So just slightly higher than
lower.
Fannin in town, Union in town.
Their inventory is
way
increased
lower
as
than-
well. They're up 50% on their inventory, so about 43% year-over-year.
Yeah. So, I mean, that just goes to show that there's opportunities here in the mountains, right? We look at Blue Ridge and we talk about average sale price of $700,000. I think we've been saying that for over a year now.
Right.
And that really makes it unaffordable for a lot of people.
Sure.
But, as agents in the market, your job is to help your clients find the best opportunity for them. And when they come up here, tell me if I'm wrong, we want a view.
You're wrong.
Sorry.
Sorry. I just want to take that
We
opportunity.
want a view, we want to live in the mountains,
Right.
we want to be close to amenities. Well, Blairsville has all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So is Hiawassee.
And that's the reality is people are figuring out that they could be in a Gilmer or a Union
Yeah.
and still have they still have access to Blue Ridge
Yeah.
for dinner, for
Right.
the amenities of Blue Ridge,
Sure.
but can come home
Sure.
and not be necessarily in the traffic all the time.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
a lot of my clients looking to retire here, you got the fantastic hospital over there.
Yeah.
It's right there. We've got probably one of the best hospitals up here in North Georgia.
Yeah, I would say it's the best until you get further south and you get into like Piedmont and stuff with huge funding. But yeah, I mentioned that to a lot of people. If you're looking to invest, it is hard to beat Fannin County. There's a lot of return there. But if you're looking to retire or have a second home, I personally think Union County is hard to beat.
Yes.
With the hospital. It's much cheaper. You still get everything you want. There's an even bigger lake with less people on it. It's not as crowded.
Right.
So I think it's
Taxes, property.
And you're
Taxes.
closer to the best lake, Chatou.
yeah.
I am going to plug the hospital a little hard. In clarity, my wife works for the hospital.
Full disclosure.
But full disclosure, yes. But Union County or Union General Healthcare System was ranked in the top 100 rural hospitals in the country. There were only 2 in the state of Georgia
Wow.
that ranked in the top 100, and Union County is one of them. I say Union County, Union General Health.
Yeah. So we're talking about the hospital. We
Yeah.
could also talk about the reasons people go to the hospital. Jim
Right.
Smoking Q was rated best barbecue in Georgia.
Yeah.
So,
I got a lot going for
well,
it.
they're in Waterville too. So, great stuff. Awesome stuff. Thinking forward, you guys are actively working with clients right now looking for homes. What's the biggest challenge for them today then?
Finding the right place. I mean, like Jeff said, even though inventory's up, it's still low compared to what we usually have. And a lot of people come in with an expectation, and as realtors, we help them kind of temper the expectation and find out exactly what they should expect.
Sure.
But I think finding exactly what you want is still an issue with the inventory being so low.
Right.
And I think that'll be corrected. We'll probably see more homes listed. I think coming up in the spring, once it warms up, we'll probably see more inventory come up as well. But that's the biggest issue I've been running into.
Yeah.
So-
The thing with finding the right house, the perfect house up here, I tell a lot of my clients, location is a key thing. If you can find the right piece of land, you can't change the land, but the house, and
Yeah.
with cabin cares, mountain build, we've got plenty of people to, if you need to modify or change things around.
Yeah.
In a tight market like this, it's hard to be super picky.
Right.
And it's across the board. I was saying to Devin yesterday, I have someone looking in mid-2s, mid-5s, and million, and all 3 of them are having the same struggle of, in recent history, it has been that there were plenty in the mid-5s, but if you were trying to get million or lower, it was hard. But right now, it's hard across all of those spectrums.
Yeah. Which is crazy because we sold homes in 21, 22, and 23.
Yeah.
And now, late 23, 24, we start to see inventory increasing and it seems to be harder to find homes. What does that tell us about the inventory on the market?
I think it means it's overpriced.
I think you're right.
We're pricing out of, like I said, with kind of the expectation. People come in thinking, I want this, this, and this for $500.
Sure.
Well, right now it's priced at $7.
It's going to be in the 7s to get what you want.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I think as realtors, there's oftentimes we would agree it probably should be much closer to 5.
Sure.
And for whatever reason, we have sellers holding out on the pipe dream that was COVID, the COVID years. So.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, just going back to the full circle, right? Going back to the first start of this conversation, and we're talking about the expired listings. Well, the reason they expired is not because they were bad houses.
Yeah.
Right? We've got great houses up here,
Yeah.
great land and views and rivers and all the great amenities that you could want. It's because they're overpriced.
Yeah, right.
So, when they come back in the spring, what's the most important thing for an expired let's just go back there. What's the most important thing for an expired listing to do when they go back on the market?
Be realistic.
And how do they do that? Because maybe they thought they were realistic all last year.
Well, you really need to evaluate the price that you're at
Okay.
and do a market analysis and look and see what your competition is. Heather's really good about doing this when she has a seller who
Who's Heather?
Heather Byers,
I was gonna say,
our
he's playing
listing
the
star.
listing
Sorry,
star.
Heather's down that hallway. This is not Heather. Heather's down the hallway.
That was
Heather
confusing.
Byers.
Sorry.
She's really good at doing this. If a seller, say she wants to list a house at 500 and a seller says, I want to do 600.
Yeah.
Heather's really good at looking at the market, pulling up homes and saying, these 3 homes are at 600,000.
Yep.
Which one of these would you buy? And would you buy your home over one of these at the price? So see where your competition is, see what you're working against, because you might believe it's worth 600. You love the place, you've lived in it for a long time. There's an emotional tie.
Sure.
But when you look at the rest of the market, are you really sticking up to the other 600s?
Yeah.
Just as an example. So I think evaluating where you are and realistically seeing where you need to be is crucial.
As we come in, as the second realtor comes in after some, realtor who's gone in and given the sellers, this inflated price or agreed with the seller to list it way up there, we're kind of combating, some of that mentality. But at that point too, they're ready, they're understanding and more willing to listen to, the prices. A good market analysis. That's what we do here, is give them a good, honest opinion of it.
The reality is, as realtors, we don't sell your home. We market your home. The market determines how your house is going to sell or not.
Absolutely.
And if we're not realistic with the market, then it's going to sit.
Yeah, one of my favorite conversations to have, almost with anybody, but specifically sellers, is, if our conversation feels a little uncomfortable to you or it hurts a little bit, it's because I'm telling you the truth. You do want me to do that, right? And Heather does a great job with that. You're absolutely correct, right? Because at the end of the day, when we take a listing and put it on the market, the goal is to sell that property.
Sure.
Yeah. Not just our goal, the seller's goal.
Sure.
They want it sold. Well, it doesn't do them any good to have it sit on the market for 365 days. Right?
Yeah.
And
It actually does bad.
It does.
Well, yeah.
It does.
It does
Potential
bad
buyers
for you.
who are watching these are looking at them thinking, what's wrong with this house? There's something behind, something's going on with it.
Or they get lost in the shuffle because they out of sight, out of mind, because they just haven't been brought back to the front.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, pricing strategies, making sure that you're getting in front of a great realtor, and I always like the saying, for us, the reason we're doing these market reports, the reason we're putting this information out there is because we don't want somebody to end up with a weak agent in a weak moment, right? In a weak moment, you're going to hire someone who just tells you what you want to hear.
That's
Our
a
job
horrible
is to do
combination.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weak agent, weak moment. That's
Yeah.
a horrible combination.
It's disaster. So we want people to know, hey, you have resources. Whether you're looking to sell today, tomorrow, or 2 years from now, right? You have resources. Reach out to any of these guys because, at the end of the day, it's your success that we care about.
Yeah.
So.
And I would add something to that. I think just making sure you do some research into who the agent is. Look at reviews. If you know someone who's in the area, ask around about the agent. It makes a huge difference. Just an anecdotal piece. I had an agent tell me one time, I won't say names, but I called this agent about. It was Doug. No, it wasn't Doug. I called this agent about a property that was listed at 500. I don't know why all of my examples are 500, but it really was. It was listed at 500. It's a really nice piece of land, commercial property, and I called about it, and I just said, how's the showings been? What is the feedback? And without a moment's hesitation, the agent said, it's at 500, but just so you know, we had an offer at 250 and we accepted it, but it fell through. So if you bring me 250, we'll probably take it.
Where's that?
Yeah.
I'll tell you where it's at later. I don't want that on video. So, I mean, stuff like that. Like, is your agent working for you? Are they tired and want to get the check?
Wow.
Because that's when they're cutting you 50%.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, we talk about professionalism. We talk about being the realtor, or being, in a client relationship, not a customer relationship. And we've talked about agency and all that in previous episodes here. And, the biggest mistake you can make as a seller or a buyer is hiring the wrong agent.
Yep.
I mean, it really is. Because at the end of the day, your agent should not just be looking for homes that other agents are sending them. What benefit are they bringing you? Zillow's real, right?
Yeah.
Zillow exists.
Yeah.
We're good with that. You guys can look for your own homes. Finding great properties, understanding your needs, getting the best price, negotiating the deal, and making sure it closes without a legal issue is exactly what you need your realtor to do.
And someone that doesn't that is not seeing this as negative, but sees the opportunity in
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Because that's the reality. There are, I've talked to, actually had a conversation with an agent just recently that is not part of our team, and she was really, really worried about where the next deal was going to come from. And I said, started saying, here are the opportunities in this market, and that's the reality.
Commission growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, guys, closing thoughts. All this conversation around the expireds, the inventory going up and down. that talks about the prices continuing to go up, supply and demand really not falling into its normal place. What are your final thoughts around all this, and how can we add some more value and advice to the people watching?
Still a great time to buy.
I think so.
Great opportunities. Again, we say it all the time: date the rate, marry the house. We can't change the house. You can't change the price of the house once you buy it, but you can change your interest rate. So that's going to be key in this time.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been saying that for a year now, I think. Date the right, marry the house.
Yeah.
And it's never the wrong time to buy the right house. And what's so amazing is that a lot of these mortgage loan officers are offering free refinance when it comes to lender fees when it's time.
Yeah.
So, take advantage of that. Fall in love with the house now. That doesn't mean go house poor, right? Yet if you can make it work and have it happen and have the home you love, instead of paying 30, 40, 50 grand over ask, which could be coming,
It could be, it could be right around the corner.
get the home.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As an investor, and I know you're biting at the bit to say something, but as an investor, as an investor, we look at making money when we buy the home, right? Making money when you buy the home. So you buy the home correctly. You don't wait for it. I mean, down the road, long-term gains is amazing. But as a buyer, as an investor and a buyer, you look for the right property. Because we know down the road, appreciation's real.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of touch on the lender side and on the agent side. A lot of people are just looking like, man, if anyone can just beat that rate, I'll use that lender.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, hey, this guy's great. He's at 7, but this guy got me to 6.8.
Yeah.
What does that really do for you? And typically you get what you pay for.
That's all.
Yeah, it's always true. And not saying that lenders can really just tweak the rates that much, but make sure you know who you're working with from lenders, whether it's an interest rate thing. Don't just go off the interest rate. Make sure it's a good lender, because I've seen lenders wreck deals if they don't know what they're doing, and I've had clients lose a lot of money.
You hear that? If you want to get wrecked.
If you're going to get wrecked, go to the cheap. And I'm not saying that the cheapest rate is always the worst lender, but always look into that. And also with an agent, just because an agent tells you I'll do it for 5%, that's actually a red flag to me. If I know what I'm worth and what I charge, and that's what I charge because I know my value and how hard I work. If an agent's just willing to just cut it off immediately right up front, that's probably a red flag and something you need to worry about. If they have to cut to get business, there's probably something they're doing wrong.
Well, it is a red flag.
Hang on.
You're going to wait. I'm biting at the bit. Go ahead.
No, I got this one from you.
Do it.
If they're that willing to give up their commission, they're not going to negotiate well for you either.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that. I mean, if they're that willing to give up their commission immediately just to get a piece of business, likely they have a bill to pay. And if they're willing to take food out of their family's mouth, how well do you think they're going to protect you? Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, that's exactly my point. Thank you, Doug. Someone listens to me.
I was thinking it,
Yeah, and I'm just saying any percentage. There's no standard percentage, and I'm not endorsing a standard percentage.
Right. Well, that's
full disclosure. Full disclosure.
Your piece on the lender piece, and I've spoken to a ton of lenders. There is very little difference between what the rates actually are. Right. So if you're getting a rate that's 0.5% lower than somebody else, you're paying for it anyway.
Sure.
Yes, I had 2 friends in Alabama who were just called me and asked me a question about a lender that they had, and they said, "Hey, this rate is super low compared to the others." And I said, "Well, make sure you're asking if you're paying for buy down points." And they asked, and they were paying multiple, $3,000 or $4,000 in buy down points, and they thought they were just getting a great rate, and the lender just kind of threw it in there.
It's just marketing.
Yeah,
it's the lender trying to get the deal, right? Yeah. And in reality, you're paying for their marketing.
Yeah,
stop it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I would just go the same thing about an agent, where you're buying or selling. Do your research on your agent. If you've got an agent representing you right now, it's so important. I believe one of the statistics in our Ignite class was 86% of those who had sold a home or bought a home by themselves wish they had gotten an agent. 89%. It's a complicated process, and you need a good agent who's got your back. And so, buyer's agent, seller's agent. So.
Check out Google reviews.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's real. It comes from your peers, right?
Yeah.
So that finding the right agent, it's today's market is different than what we've experienced the past 3-4 years. Okay, today's market is not a bad market. It's a good market because if we look back, this market's very similar to 19. And 19 was like a phenomenal year in real estate before we knew what COVID would do to it, right? So we're in a good market.
Yep.
It's different though. It is a skills market.
Yeah.
So whereas there were a bunch of agents running around closing deals during 21, 22, 23, those agents may not be closing deals today because they don't have the skill to help you.
Yeah.
These guys do. So Doug Smith, Noah Bearden, and Jeff Pierce here to serve you guys. Mountain Life team here in North Georgia. Guys, thank you for the conversation. It was great. Let's go win the day. Bye, guys.
Toodles.
Now we all act like
See
we're
ya.
shuffling through papers like the news.
I think I told him.
Yeah.
You know, the